All right, coming to you live from Taoyuan Arena on November 2nd, where the Taoyuan Pauian Pilots are victorious over the Meralco Bolts, their second win in the EASL Super League group stage of the season, and four in a row if you combine their +3 record. I want to open the floor up to you, Taylor. What the first thing that stood out to you? You had to go through this game, which we have a number of records we probably could mention from a combined team statistics standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, well, to sum up this entirety of the game, I would say it was obviously very physical, and I think towards the end it got a little bit of chaotic. Whether it's again talking about the physicality or the calls that were made, a lot of players got ejected, including head coach Vucinic. But one player that I wanted to talk about, I guess that's what we consider tracking, is Ismael Romero. Now, again, we've seen him before playing for the KT Sonic Boom. Today, he didn't play as many minutes as Ronde Hollis. He was quite effective on the court, 34 over Hollis Jefferson. He scored 26 points today, played 33 minutes. Now, this goes to say that Pilots put a lot of pressure on Ronde Hollis Jefferson. He only scored 6 points in the first half. Towards the end, because of the tensions rising, the physicality of both sides, he managed to get 22 points at the end. But that just goes to show how well-rounded the Pilots are.
Yeah, and he had a battle through foul trouble as well. So to get to that mark of 33 minutes played is, good on him, his discipline, at least knowing when and where to use his physicality. The stat you're referring to is efficiency. And so that subtracts a point for every missed shot or missed free throw and turnovers. So for him, 34 ties William Martino on the game. And that's with RHJ taking 25 shots. The reputation of him as a scorer, as the naturalist player for Jordan. We averaged, 23 points in the last FIBA World Cup. So those are impressive things. I think my note that was tracking on the game was the Pilots' stable of defenders. And stable, that's with regards to livestock, the horses and whatnot. They're stable of defenders because they started the game with Cedric Milner, and then he fouled twice in the first quarter. Then their ace off the bench, the Jiakang Jackie, he fouled twice early in the first half. So the Pilots were not worried. They even put guards on RHJ. Bayelton took turns, Guan Dayu took turns, even Owen, even everybody was able to play the one-on-one defense, but also in the system of the team defense that the Pilots played.
And the only time where we really saw Coach Camino's pivot was really the time when their main rotation was out, and we had, again, foul trouble from Alec Brown as well as Artino. That was when we really saw the main rotation returning into the court, particularly, with buyouts. And you talked about him being a floor general and, got a little bit scared with that really hard fall and that swipe by Romero. But hopefully he's okay after this game. Hopefully they'll get further medical examination.
Yeah, that's because their very next game is against each other, but from the Philippines. The numbers I want to ask you about is there was a combined 106 rebounds. There was 60 free throws on the game, Taylor. How is it difficult to call a game with so many missed shots, but so many free throw attempts, kind of breaking up that rhythm?
I think it's really challenging. I mean, I feel like I can understand how referees could miss so many calls just getting the boards. But, I think it goes to show or reflects how Meralco Bolts really kind of struggled just making shots in general. We're talking about 2s and 3s. Again, there were 4 for 28 out in the perimeter today. But those rebounds that we saw, that's what I kind of like to call padding the stats. A lot of these rebounds.
Second, third opportunity.
Yeah, saw a lot of that. But unfortunately, if you don't make them, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think the Pilots, too, they kind of resurfaced that problem as well. They were only 2 for 22 from three-point arc, which is a worse percentage.
Ouch.
I mean, stat that surprised me a lot is the Meralco Bolts had a better assist-to-turnover ratio, 14 assists, 10 turnovers. Pilots 15 to 14. The Pilots jumped a couple passes, a couple fast break layups, and look, they're ahead in the game, but they weren't able to cause enough turnovers, and they didn't get their offense very crisp. And I think the lack of three-point shooting, it's something that will continuously be worked on, but continues to be a point that the other team challenges them, right? Alec Brown, not a great shooting day. Only toward the end did he get the scoring going, but the Pilots starting backcourt of Justin, of Ethan, and we throw in Milner too, only 8 for 33. That's a low percentage. Now, I will say on Milner's behalf, there are 0 fouls drawn to his stat line. That's really hard to believe that what he did out there on the offensive end with the ball didn't warrant a whistle. So look, you can kind of understand where that's coming from. I think it goes again, like the evergreen thing, we'll say, of the 25-26 season. William Artino, 20 points, 17 rebounds. He was kind of like the it guy for the
Yeah.
Pilots, both in the setup half court, but also in the scrambles for the second chance scoring.
I mean, consistently, we've seen pretty much every single game that the Pilots have played him getting double-digit stats. So tonight he's got, let's see, I mean, he really should have been the player of the game. 20 points, 17 rebounds. Unfortunately, though, he
Got a little hot.
a
Understandably.
little hot is an understatement, but we did see him walk off in back to the locker room. Again, we're talking about the physicality, and you know, both teams being frustrated by the lack of calls, should we say, that the referees did not make, or a lot of the things that the players see on the court, referees don't see in their own perspective.
Yeah, but there's only 3 of them, and then there's 10 guys battling it out on the floor. So actually, when you do that kind of math, it might be a little bit tricky to take care of business. Now we can have a sample, because with tonight's conclusion, that means 1/4 of the EASL Super League group stage games are now in the books. We've seen the Pilots a couple times. We got to see the Alvark Tokyo for the first time after coming off a loss. They impressed in Xinzhuang. The Bolts made their debut, their 3rd time in. And so when you talk about the rivalries, you can kind of understand how, you know, there's a very strong desire to win. There's a strong desire to prove that you're the better club, that you're representing the league with some pride. And the Zach Broncos really have stood out. We haven't seen them yet in person, but they're developing quite a reputation, having won last night.
Yeah, we got a chance to see them at Xinzhuang, but in the meantime, we still have a couple of teams that we have yet to see in this particular season. Kind of the same thing that we saw last season. Hong Kong Eastern, Macau Black Bears. Very little is known. All we know really is Jenning Leung signed with Hong Kong Eastern instead of with the Macau Black Bears. So, you know, that is something that we really have to look forward to, but we're already seeing the rankings kind of getting formed. As you said, we're already a quarter way through, but we look forward to more down the line.
All right, I think does it for the game. You know, maybe we can go into further breakdowns, but today's game we'll have to conclude as such. So till next time, we'll see you in the next one.
Just like that.